Hi there. Welcome to the veritable edge of Western civilization, Venice Beach, California. This is show number 154. Today is Wednesday, Mercury Day, February 24th, 2015. And it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Let's see now. I haven't done a show since I think last Friday, maybe, or even Thursday. And because of weather and technical glitches and all sorts of stuff. But the good news is this thing. This is a mobile hotspot little box called Jetpack. And so hopefully the video should be a little tighter. It should be a little less pixelation. We'll see after the show. This is the test run. And that feels really good. So let's see where we're at with this piece as far as we've gotten so far. I decide if I'm going to take it further or leave it at half. Let's see. I think I may have to take it further because there's an optical effect that can only happen if the whole thing is done. So, there, take that. This is a Pulp Fiction one.
The big one is 25, the little one is 15. If you buy more than one, then the big one is 20, the little one is 25.
I think I just decided.
Order your best now.
Good, how are you? You do all these yourself?
So I had a friend visiting for the past week on vacation, and we had a good time. We got to it rained over the weekend, and we got a hotel room together and watched the Oscars. That was fun. What a great Oscar show. I want to try something here.
Miguel.
Reminiscing of days
Right?
before.
What's the other?
Is that with the Mickey Mouse one?
Free.
37. Heck. Okay. What was the third? Oh, did you see St. Vincent? His latest movie?
No, not yet.
Oh, it's great. I heartily recommend it. He was nominated for an Academy Award.
I should get this one for grandma, huh? Honey. I should get this one for grandma. I get so mad.
Bobby, can I borrow 50 cents?
Thank you.
Got 12 cents. I have a liquor change. Gave me a 50 cent. I'll make you. But it's still like 4 already.
Oh, we have.
We'll get your head. What?
Beautiful.
Thank you. I was going for beautiful.
You know what's funny? Oh, that's
This morning,
the first time I did it. Right out.
you too. You know, they say that if people looking to buy something, if they touch it, they're more likely to buy. But I really haven't found that to be the case. In my field research, of course. The laboratory of Venice Beach. Hi. So my next goal is to get a better camera for this operation.
That sounds like 1970.
I don't know if you can see that, if it makes any difference. Wah. It's meditative.
I got the books and I turned them.
So a couple of weeks ago, I'm standing in line at the 99-cent store on Rose and Lincoln, and I had just come from using the bathroom in the Whole Foods next door. You know, and in those bathrooms they have those pieces of paper that you can put on the toilet seat, right? So I'd used one of those when I sat on the toilet. Anyway, I'm standing in line at the checkout, and you can pretty much guess what happened. There was a whole line of people behind me, you know, waiting for their turn to check out, and but they were standing a little further away from me. That seemed kind of weird, you know. And then the gentleman next to me, the young man next to me, with this really weird look on his face, he looks at me and he goes, "You have a piece of paper hanging off the back of your pants, right?" And so I turn around, and sure enough, I have the pants. I pulled up the seat of that little. Yeah. So anyway, it was kind of embarrassing. So what's the lesson here is don't let this happen to you, okay? Yeah. The good thing was, I didn't feel bad, you know? I didn't feel like it's the end of the world. When I think about how I must have looked walking through Whole Foods, and shopping all the way through 99-cent store, nobody said anything until the checkout. Like I had said something. I wonder when I would have realized that I had that piece of paper hanging out of my pants. What a dilemma. Yep. All those that like potty humor, there you go. So there's a rumor that it's going to be rain on the weekend again, and and then it's supposed to rain next Tuesday. This is LA's version of winter. It rains. There we go. Does that look? It's kind of neat. All right. Well, Looks like it's time to.
Okay, could you bring his bag, the food bag? All right, great. I'll see you in about, what, 5 minutes? Okay.
It has like a board you can search the person.
Yeah. Well, feeling like I'm definitely going to finish the rest of this. Do the other half. I think the star thing was really kind of working. Yeah. In other words, I'm starting to like this piece. I like it even more when it's done. Cool. So dragonflies and damselflies have the same, have one of those amazing life cycles that I've ever heard about. And the reason I know about dragonflies and damselflies is because in 1993, I was at a rainbow gathering in Alabama, and on 4th of July, I went to swim or to bathe in this little creek, or crick, as they say in that part of the world. And there were these really amazing damselflies that looked like they were green metallic. Okay, so the difference between a damselfly and a dragonfly is that dragonflies, everybody knows what dragonflies look like, right? They have when they land, their wings are spread out, right? And they have 4 wings and everything like that. You know, 2 big eyes and a long body down the middle, right? But when a damselfly lands, when it's flying, it looks like a regular dragonfly, but when it lands, it has 1 wing that goes the length of its body. It lines up. They all 4 wings fold up into 1 wing, and it goes the length of its body. Of its torso. So there are these, and they usually are capable of some pretty amazing, subtle, fluttering kind of, you know, whereas the dragonfly is more, you know, unpredictable and darting movements and that kind of thing. But what they both have in common is that they're really they're the fastest creatures on the planet moving in any direction, because when their front wings go down, their back wings go up, and vice versa, and it creates these 4 vortices at the edges of their wings that make it possible for them to push off and to literally move in any direction faster than anything else on the planet. So, and the reason I know about this is, so on that 4th of July, I was bathing in the stream, and where with that? Oh, yeah, we go. Cancel. All right, we got 35%. So I was bathing in the stream, and this beautiful metallic green damselfly came and landed about this far away from me as I was bathing in the stream, right? And I just stood there, and we made eye contact, and I watched them for a good 10 minutes. We just were like, him watching me or her watching me or whatever. And I was just amazed. It was a beautiful day, warm, and sun coming through the trees, water flowing under the bridge. It was amazing. And then it took off, and it mated on the wing. No, not on the wing. It landed on another bush about 6 feet away, and it mated with another damselfly, and then came back. When it was done, it came back, and we connected again. I was just like, wow. I watched the whole thing. I was there for like a half an hour just hanging out with this damselfly, right? Except at the time, I didn't know it was a damselfly. I'd never even heard of damselflies before. You know? So about, let's see, that was the 4th of July, and over the next couple of weeks, I made my way to the rainbow gathering in Ireland, and then after the gathering, I followed with a group of friends. We went up to Amsterdam, and we were invited to stay at this person that we'd met, this brother we met at the rainbow gathering, who lived. His address was Jan Hamenswammer, right? And so that we would remember, partly so that we remember his street. It just sounded like a funny thing to say, Jan Hamenswammer, right? But then, you know, the whole Dutch language sounded like that to us, Jan Hamenswammer. And we, as we were walking around, we'd see something, we'd say, well, Jan Hamenswammer, Swammen Damenhammer, and just making fun of the language and everything. And it was just, you know, a little funny thing between us. And then when I got back to the States in September, first week I was back, something said to look up dragonflies. Just out of the blue, I went to the library. This is before Google, right? So I go to the library and I look up, you know, see if there's any books on that can tell me anything about dragonflies, right? And it turns out there's this really thin book. It's like a 100-page book, written 100 years ago by Jan Hamensweimer, who it turns out was the world's authority on dragonflies. And that's where I learned everything I know about dragonflies and damselflies, by reading that book. So their life cycle is pretty amazing, because the females, once they're fertilized, they go to the grass that's in water, the tall grass that's coming out of the water, and they drop their eggs, and their eggs go down into the water, and they settle into the muck down below. And when the eggs hatch, the creatures emerge as these what are called nymphs, right? And these nymphs, they can live in that muck for up to 3 or 4 years. And while they're down there, they're voracious eaters. They're actually cannibals. They eat one another. They'll eat anything. And but eventually they get this, inner call that says it's time to become something more than what you are down there in the muck, right? Metaphors. And they climb up the tall grass, and they come up out of the water, and they hold on to the grass, because they have 6 arms, right? They hold onto the grass, and their wings come out. And their wings, when they come out, they're very liquid, right? And they have this little period where they have to extend their wings and have their wings solidify, right? And while they're holding on to that thing, holding that piece of grass, and their wings are all solidified, the other nymphs that were down below, they're not answering their call. They're just hungry, right? They'll come up and they'll try to eat them, right? So they're really vulnerable. So as soon as they get their wings, solidified, then they fly off. And that's how both damselflies and dragonflies become damselflies and dragonflies. And when they're ready, there's certain types of dragonflies that mate on the wing. They can eat on the wing too. They make a basket of their 6 arms, and they'll capture their creatures, their dinner. And they're also, another name for them is mosquito hawks, because they go after mosquitoes. And in actuality, if you see dragonflies around, or damselflies around, that's a really good sign, because what they do is they keep a good balance, in the ecosystem, so that there's not too many mosquitoes. And conversely, when you're in a place where there's a whole lot of mosquitoes, it ain't good for us, and in part because there aren't enough dragonflies or damselflies to eat them. So.
Oh yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. So the reason I brought that up, is there's so much to learn from that, the life cycle of the dragonfly and damselfly, about people. Like for instance, when you're trying to, you've been in a certain place and in a while, you've lived a certain life, and you realize, you get this call that you really need to make some changes in your life, right? So you start to, you follow that, when you finally follow that instinct that you need to make changes and stuff, and you start to climb up out of that place that may have appeared to be, what was fine the day before is no longer fine, and you need to kind of, make some changes and climb up out of the muck that was home. It's comforting and everything. It was comforting. It was a haven for most of your life, or for a time. Now it's become something that you just have to step beyond. It's your time. It's your moment. and you're following your instincts, and you climb up out of the muck, and you climb, you find your shaft, you find your path, right? You find that shaft of light. You follow that shaft of light. You climb up, and you climb up out of the muck, and you're finally able to breathe the air, and just following your instinct, and you just clamp onto that blade of grass, that tenuous thread of that's the only thing left that's connected to your old life, right? And then you feel like you feel something inside of you that is trying to emerge, and suddenly it starts to emerge, and you start to transform, and you feel your wings, you feel your wings, but they're not quite there yet. You need to get used to them in the wind, in the air and whatnot, and they need to solidify. Right? So you're very vulnerable. You're in the depths of vulnerability, right? Right then, you have to look out for these, your brothers and sisters who, may not feel what you feel. What they feel is the same instinct that you were once driven by, which was to just eat whatever you could eat, and they see you as food. They see you as vulnerable, and they go after that. And all you can hope is that your wings hurry up and get solid, so you can just fulfill your destiny. So I think there's there may be some parallels there in that how we, often we try to make changes in our world, in our lives that, other people have a vested interest in us remaining in that environment as potential food. I don't know if it carries over that much, but you get the general idea. There's a metaphor there. It's totally applicable. And the thing is to not take it personally, which has always been a hard challenge for me, is to not take it personally, because I take life personally. I can't, I'm reminded of when I was 5 years old. I was standing on a street corner from my grandmother's house, and this big street fight broke out between the street that I lived on, my grandmother's street, and the street above. And all these kids, this whole gang of kids came down, and they started to fight with the kids on our street, including my 7 uncles. And this, people throwing punches and throwing fruit at one another, and this dude who was a couple of years older than me ran up to me within arm's length of me, wound up, and threw with all of his might, threw a pear at me, and it hit me in the head. I was just standing there. It hit me in the head, and I'm like, I just looked at him, and I started crying, and I ran home, and I ran up the stairs to my grandmother's bedroom where my mother was, and I said, "Mom, Mom," and she looked at my thing, the thing on my head, and she goes, "Oh, you'll be all right. You shouldn't have been out there." She went back to watch the TV, and I was like, I was dumbfounded, and
You guys hungry?
am I hungry? No, I don't do sugar. Try not to do sugar, but thank you. Yeah. So yeah, that was. So to finish that story, at that moment when my mother said that, I was dumbfounded. I stopped crying immediately, and because I was stunned at where she was coming from, and I was like, And so I went back downstairs, and I went back outside. By the time I got back to where everybody was, everybody had been, it was all over. Everybody had scattered, you know. But I had decided I was gonna join the fight. You know, if it's like that, I'm gonna join the fight. And luckily, the fight was over. And I got with some of my uncles, and we went scouting around to see if we could ambush some more of those guys that done me wrong. And luckily, we weren't able to. And then it was time for cartoons, and we all went in the house to watch the cartoons. And that was that. Maybe there's a part of me that's still out there looking for revenge against the pear-throwing person of the world. I can admit that.
Square.
You know?
Yeah.
But there's another part of me, just is that same little kid just standing there on the side of on the corner, amazed at this, what I'm watching, you know, not being involved in it. So. Hello.
Hi. How are you today?
Life is good. And you?
It is a very good day.
Yep.
Yeah. It's very pretty.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So I know that there's a part of me that is, you know, just feels how identifies with how unfair that whole thing seemed to me at the time, and because I knew that when I was standing on that street corner, I didn't have any malice towards anybody, and you know, I was amazed, I was stunned by the other person's malice, and you know, it was not my intention to hurt anybody or anything like that, and but you know, my innocence was not recognized, my intention was not appreciated, and more often than not in life, that's been the case, you know, and so, you know, people can't always see what our intentions are, and even if they do see our intentions, they have their own intentions, and those that may not necessarily be you know, of integrity or beneficial for anybody, including themselves. You know, but you can't, you know, tell them anything and expect them to react from a more enlightened place. You can only try to do that and give them the opportunity to act from a good place. And I think the reason I'm saying this is I'm engaged in a situation that hopefully will reach a resolution in a few days in a good way, but I can't count on it. It doesn't look like it's going to be a yummy resolution. But I'm just going to leave it open, and I'll tell you about it when the resolution, you'll know about it, believe me, one way or the other. And, you know, I would like to, what this has to do with the damselfly is I would like to move on. And I'm doing my best to move on. And I feel like, you know, there's the nymphs in the muck, trying to keep me in the muck. And so the big challenge is recognizing that it's not their problem, you know, and they're just nymphs and in the muck, you know, trying to get fed. And the big challenge is to unhook from all of that. So that's my meditation right now, is detaching all the hooks you know. And one way of looking at that is like how a rocket, you know, the way NASA does their rockets, you know, they set their rockets on the gantry there, and then the rocket is connected to the gantry by these cross members, you know. And then when the rocket goes to take off, you know, those hooks come unhooked, you know, so the rocket can leave the gantry, you know. And so right now I'm consciously making an effort to just, you know, unhook and move on. So anyway, you see that we're down to low battery here, and it's 4 p.m. and gonna close out the show for today. The next show will be show number 155. We'll try to do 2 more shows this week, tomorrow and the next day, and see how that goes. One day at a time. You ever try to live 2 days at a time? Let me know how that goes. All right, then. That's ready to go. Thanks again for listening. And remember, we love you.